those who are online? That's a very good question. And as the professor just said, I think we have invested a lot on infrastructure. But if we don't have people who can control, can manage, who can protect those infrastructures, it means those loans, so they say it's a low interest loan that we have to pay, will be loans that will be paying by that time that we finish pay those loans, and those infrastructures will no longer be there. We have roads which were built back then during independence. You can see the condition of those roads right now. So we really need to invest in two people. And to be honest, I would say three categories as to how we need to invest into human capital. First, going to tomorrow's meeting, the leaders meeting, I believe our president will be raising issues in relation to big groups that we have in our country. We all know from the national statistic that was done recently that in Tanzania, majority are youth. So we really need to invest into youth capital. How? We have to make sure that we provide decent and formal jobs to this youth group. We all know here that also in Tanzania, women are one among the vulnerable group, but they're hardworking as well. But if we trace, many women, they work in an informal sector. We've had this very big discussion over recently in the parliament. How are we going to accommodate on the national health service, healthcare, health insurance? How are we going to accommodate people from the informal sector? Because you cannot trust them. We don't have the database for that. So we have to really invest into women, making sure that the economic activities that they are doing are formalized. That is number one, so that they can be able to pay taxes. And from those collections is where the government is going to get money to pay these loans that will be provided to either. Number two, we have government projects, mega projects, which are training projects. Like, for example, recently we've introduced BBT, Build Better Tomorrow program, that is more much focused on educating in practical, educating youth on how to do modern farming. So I believe those funds, if they're channeled into such big mega projects, state projects, it will also help to develop skills, expertise in the human, especially youth, as I said before. Lastly, we really need to do reform into our education systems. The government, my country, have invested a lot into curriculum review, and we're now approaching the final stage of doing that review. But my opinion, though we are developing it to make sure that students are not only doing theory type of education, they also go to skills development, technology, invention, and innovation. Doing that, we need resources. It will come a time from this new curriculum, the government is going to, will be mandated to build secondary school into each primary school that we have right now, because primary education will be compulsory from standard 1 to form 4. That being the case, means a student must go to secondary education. That is where investment needs to be done. We don't have money to do a robust construction of this school, number one. Number two, the teachers that are expected to do that compulsory education, which much be focused on skills development, on technology, invention, and innovation, are these same teachers that you have right now. Same teachers from the same university that you have right now. How are we going to develop them? How are we going to empower them? How are we going to impose skills to them to make sure that they cope with the change of curriculum? So I believe this loan that we're going to get, or from this discussion of IDA 21, much focus will be on how we are going to support our education system, of which through that, teachers, students are going to go into that system that will be focused to where the world is going, to where the world is going, the world of technology, the world of invention, the world of, because that is where everybody should be focused. We cannot swim against the current. So human capital is very much important, but focus as to what we really need to invest on will be much more important in order to make sure that whatever that loan is taken, whenever that loan is taken, is going to benefit we who are getting that loan instead of repaying back the loan, which did not even benefit majority of our population. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the intervention, Honorable Salome. Please take your earphone now. You're going to switch to go through frames. I hope it works. May I move now to call for and call upon Stanley, the member of parliament speaking from Oliver, please. I hope you are ready and the floor is yours.
Bonjour, chers modérateurs, bonjour, chers panélistes, bonjour à tous ceux qui participent aujourd'hui à cette rencontre. Je suis Nama Berni, donc député de la Nation, député de Danamé, et membre donc, du Parlement ivoirien, secrétaire de la Commission des affaires étrangères. Alors, je suis honoré de prendre la parole aujourd'hui pour donc ici répondre aux attentes de cette rencontre. Alors, la question qui nous est posée, c'est de savoir pourquoi est si important de donner la priorité au capital humain dans le cadre de l'IDA 2021. Ce que nous devons noter, c'est que parler du capital humain, c'est donc ici parler donc du développement, de l'amélioration de l'indice du capital humain. Ce qui veut dire donc ici, à améliorer le bien-être des communautés et donc ici faire en sorte qu'il y ait des capacités de participer effectivement au progrès économique et social du pays. Il y a des enjeux importants sur lesquels porte donc ici le capital humain, à savoir la santé, l'éducation, la nutrition, l'emploi et également les compétences. Pour nous, c'est des enjeux très importants pour lesquels nous voulons ici attirer l'attention ici de l'IDA, et donc de l'IDA 2021, et bien, l'IDA 21, parce que ce sont des secteurs pour nous très prioritaires ici en Côte d'Ivoire, par exemple. Et nous avons une population jeune en majorité, et donc faire de cette jeunesse une priorité, donc ici investir dans la jeunesse, c'est contribuer donc ici à avoir une jeunesse vraiment formée, une jeunesse vraiment bien éduquée, une ressource humaine de qualité qui sera mise au service de la société. Aujourd'hui, en Côte d'Ivoire, il y a des initiatives en faveur de la jeunesse en fait de l'éducation. Par exemple, l'éducation obligatoire pour tous les enfants à l'âge de 16 ans. Et nous, quand on parle d'éducation, il y a également la question des infrastructures, pour lesquelles notre pays fait beaucoup d'efforts, mais également pour lesquelles le pays tend la main aux bailleurs. Donc, pour nous, l'IDA devait vraiment s'orienter vers ces perspectives-là, accompagner ces pays pour améliorer vraiment le capital humain en investissant vraiment dans les infrastructures. Également, il y a la question de l'enseignement des bases. Aujourd'hui, on peut converser vers un enseignement, je dirais, professionnel, parce que la capacité même d'employabilité et donc ici la formation n'est pas adéquate. Et pour cela, vraiment, on va bien donc ici d'améliorer donc ici ce secteur en ayant vraiment en étant l'impact sur la qualité. La santé également, c'est important. Plus on investit dans la santé, plus les ressources humaines sont de qualité, il y a un retour donc ici sur cet investissement en matière économique. Un pays fort investissement sanitaire est un pays qui génère des ressources économiques substantielles pour sa population. Par exemple, pour l'éducation, quand c'est développé, Et donc, cela génère des ressources pour les pays qui en bénéficient. Donc, pour nous, vraiment, il faut utiliser le capital humain dans le cadre de ce LIDA 2020. Alors, pour cela, nous avons quand même des besoins. Oui, des besoins, parce que aujourd'hui, députés que nous sommes, nous avons besoin vraiment d'une certaine clarification de l'impact donc ici, concret du LIDA sur le bien-être de la population, sur le bien-être de la communauté. Nous cherchons donc à savoir quel est l'impact des besoins. Cela permet également aux députés d'accompagner donc les initiatives de l'IDA parce que c'est lui qui vient faire la population, c'est lui qui connaît ses besoins et c'est lui qui sait vraiment les orienter. Nous sommes dans une région, dans des pays où nous cherchons plus l'action sur à gérer les crises. Je pense qu'on gagnerait à faire la prévention. On va faire la prévention parce que plus on prévient, plus nous mettons moins de moyens et donc ici, plutôt que dans l'action. Donc vraiment, pour nous, nos besoins, c'est donc ici, nous permet donc ici de passer à la prévention des crises. Et il faut également une approche intégrée
She's saying network of
le capital,
African parliamentarians committees on that.
le capital social, santé, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure,
She
et le
says I
capital,
was invited.
nous, la santé, l'éducation, la
Angie,
commission.
it's like they even gave her my contact.
Capital social, capital
Because I didn't even have my contact. So I'm wondering how she
Et nous voulons également une collaboration entre la Banque mondiale et les parlementaires que nous sommes, y compris également les ESE. Pour dire que nous pouvons à des rencontres, souvent des opportunités pour les ESE, pour les parlementaires,
So she's coming from that background
de réalité.
of
Et pour cela,
how
nous voulons vraiment donc ici
And now I don't know how and who invited
priorité nationale dans les dossiers d'investissement et le plan national de développement. Parce que, d'une part, il y a le dossier d'investissement, il y a le plan national de développement, et ces deux doivent vraiment aligner à part l'équilibre.
you check
Et
with
ce que nous
just a
proposons
little check up with the budget committee. Would you know
sur la redevabilité et de suivi donc ici de l'impact de l'IDA en faveur des besoins donc ici des communautés. Ce serait important pour nous dans la mesure où la banque investit ou les banques investissent, mais ne nous disent pas comment est le mécanisme pour voir si l'investissement donc ici impacte la population, puisque c'est les ONG et les députés qui sont plus proches des populations. Donc, il est important pour nous de faire le retour à la banque après investissement pour voir donc ici si ce qui a été prévu est fait ou impacte positivement la population, puisque ce sont les biens de la population. Et pour nous, vraiment, cela est très important. La question donc, ici, du mécanisme de viabilité, nous avons besoin pour suivre les travaux donc, ici, qui sont faits sur le terrain au niveau donc, ici, de la Banque mondiale. Je pense être vraiment dans le temps, parce que nous avons beaucoup à dire cette question, surtout en tant que pays en développement. Et notre pays vient donc aussi de voter donc, ici, le budget annuel, un budget dont une partie doit être assurée par les investisseurs, non par les bailleurs. Donc pour nous, l'IDA, donc ici, la commission, doit mettre un accent important sur ces priorités que sont l'éducation, la santé, surtout. Parce qu'il y a un volet important de notre budget qui dépend donc aussi de ces enjeux et pour lesquels le concours, la contribution des investisseurs est attendue. Alors, évidemment, il faudrait que cela soit aussi dans la priorité au niveau de l'IDA dans cette constitution, parce que nos pays en ont besoin. Là où les crises en Ukraine ont permis de réduire de façon drastique nos besoins donc ici en Intel. Et nous prenons toujours pour que vraiment les questions cruciales pour nous, la santé, l'éducation, la nutrition, et qui sont vraiment des questions pour lesquelles la banque y met assez de moyens, soit vraiment encore sur une question qui attire l'attention de la banque sur des investisseurs. Et là-dessus, nous venons que la Constitution arrive à un moment oui, donc je l'ai dit, un moment charnière, où le succès de la reconstruction des activités et du plan d'action qui en découle sont nécessaires dans l'attente des OED à l'horizon 2023. Il y a un point très important sur lequel je voulais donc revenir, la question donc ici de nous, les OECE et puis donc des parlements, qui sont des parties prenantes dans donc ici l'IDA 2021. En tant que député, représentant de la population, qui travaillons sur le même champ d'action avec les OSCE, nous verrons vraiment notre contribution, notre participation, notre prise en compte au niveau donc ici des différentes rencontres que les banques organisent. Parce que cela nous permet donc ici de donner les réalités du terrain. Ça permet donc à la banque donc ici d'être ancrée dans le réel, dans ce qui est vraiment les besoins de la population. Puisque c'est nous qui vivons avec au quotidien, nous savons quels sont les besoins, nous savons ce qui est bien pour eux. Et donc ici, en accord, en amont avec les OSCE qui nous soutiennent dans cette action, avec une vision plurielle, diversifiée, nous prenons qu'ici, amener la banque vraiment
We had some challenges.
Nous avons souvent ici la technique et donc je
for the interest of time,
oui, je revenais sur l'importance ici des parlements et des OSCE dans l'obtention ou la réalisation des objectifs de l'IDA 2021. Et cela donc ici revient à mettre donc les députés, les parlementaires, les OSCE au cœur donc ici de l'action à mener. Parce qu'il est évidemment bon que ces personnes qui sont en contact avec les populations dont les besoins soient associés à des rencontres. Plus nous sommes présents, ça renforce nos capacités, avec une connaissance de ce que vous faisiez, et donc en tout cas nous retrouvons auprès de la population, nous disons ce qui est bien, et donc ça nous permet vraiment d'avoir une visibilité dans toute action que vous menez. Donc pour nous, vraiment, pour ce qui est de l'IDA 2021, la présence des OSC, des députés, garantit une représentation diversifiée et légitime encore pour les décisions qui seront prises. Notre implication assure donc ici une meilleure compréhension des besoins locaux et renforce donc la transparence et la redevabilité des actions de l'IDA. Pour cela, et je l'ai dit, il faut donc ici contribuer à renforcer nos capacités, y compris celles des OSE. Vraiment, nous sommes disposés à ce niveau et vraiment que les capacités soient renforcées. Plus nous sommes outillés, plus nous pouvons accompagner valablement donc ici l'IDA 2021 et donc ici à ces objectifs. Nous recommandons que soit vraiment inscrit la participation régulière des OSE, des députés, aux différentes réunions, et même celles qui se tient demain après-demain. Nous regrettons parce que c'est l'une des espoirs quand même des OSE, des députés, de se retrouver encore de relancer ces questions. Mais bon, pas grave, nous pensons vraiment être écoutés et que le prochain rendez-vous, nous soient pris en compte, nous soyons présents avec vous. Donc, c'est pour toujours vous suivre donc ici les réalités de nos populations pour lesquelles vous investissez, pour lesquelles nous travaillons également. Je voulais vraiment vous dire merci pour ce temps d'échange et merci vraiment pour le décalage au niveau ou les difficultés au niveau de la technologie. Mais nous restons toujours disponibles à nos niveaux ici en Côte d'Ivoire et cela donne l'occasion également de dire merci à ça qui fait beaucoup ici au pays en Côte d'Ivoire sur la question de l'éducation, la santé, la nutrition, qui accompagnent au quotidien. Encore merci à vous et donc je laisse la police à les questions éventuelles.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bailey, for the intervention. Thank you very much. I want to move to Zambia on the same question. This is going to be Swahili. So you don't need to have a mic. Sally Rose. Let me check if she's online. Sally Rose. You're the next speaker. And my question is why is prioritizing human capital important in the INA 2021? Your intervention, please.
Good afternoon, the other panelists and also the others that are listening in. My name is Sally Rose Kabesha Soponi. I am a Zambian development professional working with civil society. I'm truly honored to be part of this important panel discussing the priorities for IDA 21. So you asked me a question, why is prioritizing human capital within IDA 21 so important? Human capital is essential for development generally. It's been irrefutably proven that investment in human capital yields tangible returns, just like investment in physical capital. You realize that countries that are doing well on the human capital index, like Japan, have got young, healthy, and skilled population. And that is why they are more productive. Zambia, as an example, we are a very youthful population. Our median age right now is at 17.3 years. That's a very young population. And we normally always talk about the youth being the leaders of tomorrow and the ones that will be the ones taking care of the population in the not so near future. We talk about it so much that it has now become cliche. However, this is actually the absolute truth. However, if we look at the human capital index for Zambia, it's currently at 0.4%. So in simple terms, if I'm going to explain it, it's just to say that a child born in Zambia today will be 40% as productive when he or she grows up as she could ever be if she enjoyed complete health and full complete education and full health according to our current standards. And this is actually even lower than the average for sub-Saharan Africa region and lower by far than the average for lower middle income countries. So this is very sobering and extremely worrying. So in Zambia, we are blessed with good arable land, good weather, the youthful population that I've talked about. And normally this should translate to productivity. It is not. We are lagging behind because we desperately need urgent investment in human capital investment. And as other countries are embracing advances in technology such as, artificial intelligence, we are playing catch up. So for me, I would say prioritizing human capital within IDA 21 is very important. It's non-negotiable because the only way we'll see positive benefits and impact in development is when we invest in our citizens. So the second question that you asked is, what do we need to ensure that we deliver and support the needs of communities that need them the most? First, I'd like to apologize. I was not able to actually hear what the other speakers spoke. So if I'm reinventing the wheel, I apologize. But I know that definitely they've also handled this question quite adequately. So in the workplace, human capital is that intangible economic value of a worker, their experience and their skills. And usually we factor in education, training, intelligence, skills, health, and other things that employers value. In development, it's more or less the same. Although we pay much attention to the knowledge, skills, and other personal characteristics that are embodied in the people to make them productive. And human capital is so cold because people cannot be separated from their knowledge, their skills, their health, or their values in the way that they can be separated from their financial and physical assets. So education, training, and health are very important. And you will find that for IDA 21, when you look at the midterm reviews for the help that we've gotten through IDA in the past, they've been tangible advancements, but still, it is still not enough. As I explained earlier, our capital index is way lower than it should be. And clearly, we desperately need these urgent interventions. And how would we achieve this? As civil society in Zambia, we are proponents of participatory development because we believe that assistance should start with building the capacity of the beneficiaries so that they themselves can first identify what they need, and then they can also make intelligent decisions, and they can also hold, legislatures and also donors accountable. And we do this by first engaging the beneficiaries, and we engage them not as, just beneficiaries who are, holding their hands. We engage them as equal partners. And we do this also enhancing their communication skills, their education, their technical skills, creativity, skills, mental health, and personal resilience, and making table about the issues that affect them. So today was an important day for us because we launched this a status report for the youth for 2023. And it gave some very sad, especially in terms of education. The government has come up with an enrollment of all children in grade 1. But we see that the transition from primary school into secondary school, the figures are down almost by half. And then when we look at the end of
time, our time is running pretty short. But I think all the contribution are making a lot of sense. You have You have answered my next question. Why do we involve that organization? I want to go to another round of Thank you. Our time is really bad, but I wanted to go to another comment, and I want this to be a little louder than ever. The leaders, decision makers of governments and the World Bank are sitting in Zanzibar tomorrow without members of parliament, without civil society organizations, without private sector, without researchers. Professor Mjija, I want to start with you. In 1 minute only, why is it important for the IDA 21 discussion to involve non-government parties? Why is it important to involve non-government institutions?
One, just going straight to the question, is that one, the non-government institutions are the ones who are working with people, and the ones who know better, I would say, the problems of the people and their causes, and the ones who know what the people are lacking and what are their needs, are the ones who, of course, whatever is going to be financed is financing the people, is financing productivity, is financing creativity, is financing innovation, so that the problems are solved from that particular part. If you don't know, you don't involve the people who needs, then at the end, you're only solving part of the problem and not moving the cause of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Mjija. Can you share your insights again in 1 minute? Why is it important to involve non-government institutions on the table for this discussion?
The answer is very simple. You cannot, for the word, I mean, for IDA to involve heads of state only, It's the same head of the state through government who initiated the IDA 20 program or project. Same government have implemented. Same government is asked as to how that performance was done. What do you expect? You cannot be a judge of your own case. So, and we all know the functions of other pillars. We parliamentarians, or should I wait and ask them a question about parliamentarians? Or I proceed? We parliamentarians, one of our key roles is to do oversight to the government's implemented projects. We have a special caucus in the House called the Parliamentarian Network on World Bank and IMF. Can you imagine how vital that caucus is? And we are not aware either what is going to be reported tomorrow for the IDA 20 and the IDA 21. Summary of which is the government cannot report against what they think is right, what they think is not right. They'll always say things were done correctly, and they'll always say what they think they want to implement. Them as government, based on the statistics, reliable statistics, which is also established by themselves through evidence. So there's a very big role of CSO, very big role of the House of Tanzanians, actually the Parliament, and there are other people, key stakeholders of which you have not even mentioned, the academia. They need to be there. They need to be represented in that meeting to make sure that there's an inclusion of each and every key stakeholder towards this loan that is going to be taken, that we are going to pay in the future. Thank you.
So the government is the same that implements, and the same is asked how they perform, and the same is asked the next priorities. You're putting very clear the role of the parliamentarian is to provide oversight to the functions of the government. That sets the context of why we need multi-stakeholder involvement. Our time is running really short. I wanted to take another round of questions from the audience, but I have a colleague from Washington. Yes, please.
We have a question, 2 questions. We have 2 questions in the
questions from the audience.
Yes.
Okay. So type ask John to hold on for a moment. Could we go to the round of questions? So maybe I take 2 from here, then take 2 from the online, and then we'll be going to closing reflection from our colleague from Washington. So we'll take 2 from here. So 2 questions from here. And so which one do I take and which one that I don't? Okay, that's very loud. So I'll take that one, it's very loud. The second one, the loud one, the loudest one. Okay, so that one and that one.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm child advocate. So I'll be speaking on children 0 to 8 years. My question to the leader tomorrow is to reimagine the investment to 0 to 8 years age, because Heckman's reporting on longitudinal studies on comparison of the correlation between investment on human capital, ECD, and the human capital outcomes. The results, they are very clear. The graph shows that the more you invest on early years, the more the yielding in future. And it is straightforward from his report. It's saying that ECD, early childhood development, are one of the best ways to lay strong foundation for health, well-being, productivity, and also upholds the rights of every child to survive and thrive. So this is very key. Again, concerning the partnership, I think this is one of the priorities of Dar es Salaam Declaration this July, that one of the priorities is to mobilize resources and partnerships. And the emphasis was given to committed to increase our domestic resources within African countries towards human capital outcomes by 3% by 2030, and also call for development partners.
What is the question?
The question is, to what extent the private sectors comes in to contribute to the human capital development? And another one regarding the engagement of parliamentarians who are hold accountable on government operations, I can say, to what extent the early childhood development caucus group is also part of the discussion tomorrow?
Thank you. So, two questions from there. We'll share very, it's really short, so please go to the point. We have a lot of questions waiting, so only two from you. Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Diari and panelists. When Professor Fares speaking, I noted this point, saying colonization itself is limiting us from understanding our problem. So I'm actually wondering, do we think our people are so much colonized that whatever we're discussing here is so hard to actually do? And what are the possible decolonization pathways to remove this gap? Thank you.
He says it's not hearing you very well.
Oh.
So please move the mic a little away from the mouth. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Here. Here. Oh, maybe here. Oh, thank you. So my question is, I noticed from Professor Fares when he was talking, he said, colonization trap is limiting us from understanding our problems. So I was asking a question to Professor Fares. Do we think, what are the possible decolonization pathways? And I think maybe these colonization concepts that you're talking about is actually limiting us from attaining whatever we need. And maybe to Honorable Salome Makamba, do we think our government is ready to decolonize the systems? Because when we, our health system are colonized, our education system are colonized, our politics are colonized. And
decolonize.
Yeah, decolonization. That's
interesting questions, eh? Thank you very much. So I'll take two questions from the virtual participants. Question from Honorary Dr. Christopher Lila. Maybe you can read that, or I don't know which.
Who are saying that they were invited.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Dr. Kalila, Member of Parliament and Chairman of the Health Committee. It's my fourth term in the National Assembly, and I've been listening through right from the beginning up to the end. First, I just want to make a comment that in my experience, Professor, executives worldwide have a tendency to leave out parliaments when they go for international agreements, international commitments, whether at UN or Africa Union and so on, they leave out parliaments. And therefore, I'm very excited about this meeting. And yet parliaments are accountability institutions. They are institutions that hold government to account, and they track the commitments that they make. And in other jurisdictions, they even sign these agreements. They have to be ratified by parliament. So one wonders why they are left out, and let us push together, colleagues, parliamentarians, that we must now begin to be included in some of these discussions that happen, because at the end of the day, it's us who have to ask the hard questions. How do you ask what you were not a part of, what you don't understand? That's the comment I wanted to make. The second is just a question. Question is, Prof, there has been a criticism of aid, that it has not worked for Africa, especially pulling it out of poverty. Why do you think that is the case? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Comments and questions. A question from Abdillah Lugome, please. So take all the questions and then we can respond, and then you can move on. Abdillah, Abdillah Lugome, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Bujari, and thanks for the good presentation. But I have two issues. One is for the youth-centered issues, because most of the parliamentarians, they are active just like they want to work with youth, but it's not really that they are working with youth directly. They have some segments of the youth whom they want. They don't want those youths who are active, who can challenge them. So that is, we are really facing a challenge when we want to work with the parliamentarians. But it's not only to parliamentarians. even the donors. Sometimes donors, they are giving us programs which actually is not a challenge for a certain group of young people. So I do advise for donors also to see how they can cooperate and see what really young people are need in their programs, and even to do some of the advocacy. And also the last one is I want to supplement on the partnership. Yeah, partnership in resource mobilization. Actually, this thing is very nice. We need now, it's a high time for us to partner and see how we can work. As you can remember, we partnered in certain programs whereby we applied for the same donor, and at the last stage, we ended up seeing that there is no need for us to compete while we are going to do the same thing in the community. So what are we going to do? We have to partner together and see how are we going to help this community of young people. So those are my, thank you.
Question is very long, sir. So I have some challenges to hear. Maybe my colleagues did hear, but let me give you some opportunity to provide insights on what your reflections are on these questions as they have been asked. So, Professor Mtindi, I want to start.
Yeah, there was a lot of which I don't hear very well some of the questions, but the one that I had is on colonization. One, we have to colonize two things which have been colonized. One is the mind. Our mindset is colonized. Why? Because we tend to think that they think better than us. We tend to think that they know our priorities. We tend to think that we can do what people can't do. That's wrong. And we have to have our own thinking, our own mission, depending on the context of our own countries. That what's the problem? Is it if I ask you a question? We need to express the rural areas and have a hospital in that area. Maybe the person is no. The both places have to have hospitals because the disease pattern and the problems that in urban areas are also. So why should we give them this space? Because the economists say build this space in the rural area so that they can prepare the labor so that they can be productive and then the money they export our country. So we have to colonize infrastructure. And good luck, my friend Professor Mtindi is now trying. We colonize education. That we should not follow what they say for years. We have our own context, we have our own problems, we have different causes, and we have to follow those causes in order to solve our own problems and tell them this is what we want, not wait for them to come and then colonize our mind and say, this is what you want. We should give them our needs and not them the needs for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Salome.
Okay, I've had like 3 questions, and one, the professor here almost preempted my reply, but I'll try to add more on it. And I will, of course, I'll start with this. You asked me, do you think the government is trying to colonize Tanzania? Being in the parliament for 7 years now almost, I can see that political will from the government, that they want us to be self-reliant. They want us to be independent in terms of thinking, the way we live our day-to-day life and everything. I remember it was 2018, we changed all our legal, all our laws to be enacted in Kiswahili. That was a shock to the nation. And for your information, we changed the law, but the law allowed us to enact the laws in Kiswahili or English. But we had to emphasize that it should be in Swahili. Then that is decolonization, if you ask me. I can see the political will from the Ministry of Agriculture, as I said earlier. Removing the mindset to the youth that they, after college, they have to be employed. Removing that mindset and taking them back to the farms. Trying to teach them short-term crops that can grow in 2-3 months and they get money out of it. is trying to remove that mindset that every person who went to college must have a white-collar job. I see decolonization. He has already explained about the educational reform, big reform. We are trying to commercialize talents, commercialize innovation, invention that our children are doing. Looking into that, and all other big examples that I have not mentioned, I can see the political will of the government to brand Tanzanian culture, Tanzanian custom, Tanzanian morals. And we all hear Madam President is saying this in almost every speeches. And we need to respect our morals and values. So now, political will is number one. But are we ready to change? Are we ready to agree that what we have is precious and valuable? That is upon us here in this room to agree. Another question is about ECD that my sister, lady sister, advocate have asked. Same question that has put us here this evening. We don't know what is going to be discussed tomorrow because we parliamentarians are not there. CSO, you're not there. Academia is not there. It is a call now to the World Bank and IMF and all those countries which are sponsoring us. We are key stakeholders. You cannot work with the person at the same time, want him to report if he did well or bad. Last question is about youth. Fortunately, I am a vice chairperson for the Youth Caucus in the Parliament. I tell you, it is true what you just said. Most of us parliamentarians, we use youth during campaigns. We use youth when we need them to get back to the Parliament. But we don't capacitate them. We don't make sure that they are included in decision-making tables. And we, as youth leaders in the Parliament, we have this initiative of making sure that we're having this council that will involve youth, and we make sure that we have an agenda of youth that will be escalated to high-level decision makers. And that, I believe, we youth, if you have the same agenda and we scale it to high-level decision makers, we change a lot of laws that excludes youth from being involved in decision making. It is a gradual process. You know, youth group is not an easy group. Mind you, we sit here as youth. Everybody has got his own vision and focus. I know, but we have our leaders who are youth people. They are there to mentor us. In our focus, we have parliamentarians, senior parliamentarians who are our mentors. They mentor us in the way that we like, the way that we move. I know there's different of age and whatever, but we can listen, we can focus, we can have agenda, we can be used for their purpose. We can get involved in the decision-making bodies and we can advise, and you can see there are lots of youth in this government and they're doing very good in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the reflections. Allow me to now go to Washington, D.C. Our colleague, Dr. John Carter. I hope you're still online, and if you are, please get ready. Dr. John Carter is the chairperson of the Action Global Health Partnership. She's also the executive director for research in US. She has worked on a number of development programs, including the World Bank, IMF, for over 20 years. It is before I started this work, and she was in there. And she's going to give us some closing reflections from her own perspective on what should be the priorities of the IDA 21. Dr. John, I hope you are on, and if you are, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much. Can you hear me okay? Yes? Yeah. So thanks, Peter, and thanks everyone. It's really an honor to be with you from Washington. I would just start by saying that I have, as an advocate and part of this advocacy partnership, I've worked closely for 3 decades with members of Parliament and Congress, and I know how incredibly important and challenging your work is as members of Parliament. But I would just say literally none of the work that my organization and partners have done to increase resources to ensure access to life-saving health technology in the poorest communities, to fight malnutrition, to change the policies of the World Bank. None of that would have happened without champions like the members of parliament that are here today. So just to start, a real thank you for the work that you do. And thank you for all the folks in civil society that partner there and support that work. You know, I won't repeat what was said, but it is clear that given the multitude of crises and the huge financial challenges, but also global inequalities, you know, that we're hearing loud and clear from you and other African leaders that more is needed to address human capital needs like health and education and early childhood and tackling the growing food insecurity. And again, as we talked about, the last replenishment of the World Bank's IDA leveraged over $93 billion for low-income countries, you know, a massive pool of money. But we know that those resources are not going to even be enough to cover the next few years because the money was front-loaded because of so many needs. So the next replenishment of IDA 21, to be negotiated in 2024, is enormously important. The scale of the resources, but also how those resources are going to be used. And that's what we've been talking about today. You know, the priorities for this next IDA have not been determined yet, but that's going to start now. And it'll be more important than ever to ensure that IDA delivers on the very critical human capital priorities that you spoke of. And that this needs to be shaped by elected representatives and civil society, including youth leaders. You know, I had the chance to be with several of you in person at the World Bank annual meetings in Marrakesh in October. And at that meeting, Honorable Bernie Neyman from Cote d'Ivoire said something that really stuck with me. He said that there are many urgent issues and crises that come up, but we cannot always let the urgent have higher priority than the important. And I think that there's a real danger that without pressure and leadership from parliamentarians, you know, and civil society, that the crises of the moment could leave behind hugely important issues like the ones you have raised and discussed: nutrition, primary health care, education, ECD, you know, social protection, and the needs of the most vulnerable communities. You know, and as the World Bank leadership, country representatives, ministers, IDA deputies meet for the IDA midterm review tomorrow in Zanzibar, that is really the start of the negotiations for the next IDA, which again take place over this year. And it's going to be critical to ensure that the bank and donor governments commit to first a robust framework that includes really ambitious policy commitments, and also those commitments and strong indicators that allow you as elected officials and parliamentarians and broader civil society to measure and drive impact and to hold folks accountable. And we also need to make IDA overall a top priority of the World Bank and leaders to ensure that low-income countries and those most vulnerable are prioritized in the whole evolution of the World Bank. And that is not guaranteed, but that is something that we need to push for. And again, as others have raised, I'll just end by saying we have to ensure that the values of inclusivity and meaningful engagement extend to key stakeholders like parliamentarians and also civil society and academia, to make sure that they have a seat at the table and are able to share their knowledge of the needs and inputs, you know, needs of their communities and the inputs during IDA 21 replenishment process. You know, as you've said, and as we know, the midterm review happening tomorrow doesn't include space for Parliament, members of Parliament, and civil society. But the conversation today makes clear that you as parliamentarians, as elected representatives, play a crucial role in, you know, in so many key areas of budget allocation, but also really oversight and accountability and representing the priorities of your communities and your country, you know, as does the role of civil society and academia. And really, as parliamentarians, you have such a critical role in shaping IDA, your own government's priorities, but also honestly directly informing the World Bank and also key donors. I feel like at this moment, they are more open to hearing, partly because this is such a key negotiation, than they ever are. And so it's really important to ensure that we have your leadership and your voices as a critical part of this. Because the year ahead is going to be pivotal for those of us who are committed to equity, to ensuring that country governments and the most vulnerable communities have the resources they need to invest in human capital, deliver on primary health care, nutrition, education, early childhood. And I just want to say, we're committed and look forward to working with you all to help ensure that your engagement in this process is strong so that together we can influence the bank leadership, country governments, and donors to make bold commitments, but also to really hold them accountable so that these resources are delivered in ways that actually benefit the communities that you serve and the people that are most in need. And we look forward to working with you around early negotiations in February, the spring meetings in Washington in April, and really shaping both the scale of IDA, but perhaps most importantly, how those resources are used. So thank you for inviting me to join you to this really important conversation, and really want to support your work going forward.
Thank you very much, Dr. John Kada, speaking from Washington, D.C. on some closing reflection. I wish now to, our session is coming to an end, by the way. I wish to go to my speakers finally. In 30 seconds, I hope my honored speakers still on 30 seconds. What would you like to tell the world leaders that are sitting tomorrow? In 30 seconds, what would you like what would you like them to take into considerations or be mindful?
I would like to tell my leaders that while it is true that we need the financing, that we should go with our priorities on that. And let us discuss what we can do with them and get the right finance, the right population, solving the right problems, and looking at the right causes so that we can develop rather than just waiting for prescriptions that will not let them create. One thing to do that is for them to also give them to capacity building in terms of creating think tanks in all sectors, right? In nutrition, in education, in health, and all who can help, because not everybody can present his or her problems, of course, but those who will help us in terms of collecting information, analyzing that information, and presenting that information by looking at priorities that we need, and that will also create, will also build creativity, innovation, and better performance for our.
Thank you very much, Professor Ginger. Can I go to Honorable Salome? What would you tell them in 30 seconds?
Okay. We have already learned from the debt burden that our African countries are suffering right now. What I want to tell them is whatever negotiation they're going to, or priorities they're going to put, let them think about those who are going to pay those debts after 30, 50 years. Let these investments that they're going to prioritize on tomorrow be of the kind that will improve life of the children right now, to remove stunts, to remove malnutrition, to improve their education, to compete with the world, to improve mother and child status during birth. Let them not focus on the projects that will give them popularity, political popularity. When I'm talking about political popularity, there are these short-term projects that most of African leaders are focused and investing on that will help them during the next year or next campaign. But at the end of the day, after elections, those will be white elephant projects. Let the focus on this loan, let the focus of their discussion tomorrow think and focus much on the future, think and focus much on the next generation rather than temporary projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the sentiment. So think about those who will pay the debts in another 20, 30 years. That's very powerful. May I check availability of Honorable Ben Sandy, if you are still online, or your final closing remarks? 8 seconds, please, if you're still on. Okay, it's not on. Sally Rose, if you're still on, please, in 10 seconds, what will be your final remarks?
My final remarks would be to encourage our leaders that are going to be representing us tomorrow. Remember that development is not only at legislature level, it is a wholesome package. So if they were not able to get the issues that people want them to present to the meeting tomorrow, at the very least, when they come back, there should be a roundtable discussion with all stakeholders, because development affects everybody. For it to be sustainable, everybody needs to be involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Speakers present that are online, and everybody who has participated in this event. It's such a pleasure to have all the wisdom shared here. It's my honor to now say thank you, and again, Dr. Rutasha, for your hospitality today, and come and take over the session again. Thank you very much, Professor. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bujari, colleagues, participants, and those who are connected through the online. The meeting was hot as we were ending. It was like we were catching the flights, and there are issues needed, which perhaps we needed to reflect on based on issues emerging from this discussion from the forum. For example, tomorrow we'll be looking at mid-term review at global level. Have we taken time, for example, in our localities, in local countries, to take note of mid-term review of either programs in our countries? Have we, in each sector, do we know how much it entails in terms of the loan burden, the economy of either? Do we know that? But secondly, it has come out very clear, we should invest early investments. Capital investments in most of Sahara Africa stays at 5%, no, 0.5, and then Kenya leads other Sahara countries that were at 0.4, which means a person in those countries, productivity is at almost 40%. So we have a loss of almost 60%. Thirdly, there are some other social aspects actually which we need to look at. While actually we're discussing with the World Bank, IDA, the mid-term review, the teenage pregnancy, for example, the gender inequalities existing in our societies. Because if you are reaching teenage pregnancy standard 47%, those 50 in your community, those ladies, those adolescents will never make it. So thank you very much. We are looking for transformation changes, and I'm proud to invite you. But really, thank you again, Dr. Bujari. We cannot stop thanking him and the team from Nairobi who facilitated this program. And I was wondering, when again shall we have similar reflection? I want to take a privilege of being here, Dr. Bujari, to start thinking of undertaking the midterm review of IDA programs in our countries. What does it mean as we go negotiate, we go with an agenda that this is not working? This is not working. The program are not making. We need this to come very clear. Thank you again, Professor Ginger. Thank you very much. Ginger really came up with a very hot debate, particularly when he touched the decolonization of health systems and the education system in Tanzania, which actually young people around the world were looking forward. We need similar discussion. We have another meeting just discussing about the colonization of our education and health system, for example. Is BBA right? Is it too late investing in BBA? Yes, because investment required at early education. Thank you. In our floor, I saw that our people from nutrition sector, we need people who are nutritious, who can think through, and they make a decision in the future. Thank you very much again for this discussion. And I have a privilege again of inviting you to a cocktail reception, which is prepared for you. You can have time, continue talking, discussing, pondering, and make sure that these messages are taken to for discussion tomorrow. Karibuni sana. Otherwise, it was I count this as one of very fruitive discussion. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So yeah, so